got it. So if everybody is ready, we can start. Okay. So I'll read each sentence and then you tell me what it is. Okay. So the last words of the previous paragraph is Yukta Asita Matpara. In other words, what it means is that thinking of me, Matpara. Okay. That word para, we had a discussion with Tarika the other day. Matpara means thinking of me, engaged in me, plunged into me. That's what means para. Okay. And asita, let him be seated. How? Let him be seated. Yukta, concentrated in me alone. That's what it means. And now we read the para. Each sentence I read. If this is done, then it becomes possible to move among the objects of sense in contact with them, acting on them, but with the senses entirely under the control of the subjective self, not at the mercy of the objects and their contacts and reactions, and that self again obedient to the highest self, the Purusha. So let's understand what he's saying. So if you are able to concentrate only on the divine, Matpara, so Sri Krishna is saying, concentrate on me and sit quietly, engaged only in my thoughts. Okay? So if you do that, what happens? You can move about in the physical world, come into contact with even sense objects, which normally give you desire, but now they won't give you desire if you are concentrating on me. Okay. If you are concentrating on me and you are joined with me in consciousness, then you can freely, you can do whatever you want. Okay. But you will not be subject to the sense objects. The sense objects can be anything, beautiful or those things to which you are attached. Okay. Normally there are habits which we get attached to. If you see something beautiful, you want to have it. If you see something very tasty, you want to eat it. The objects are making you a slave normally. But when you are concentrated in Sri Krishna, then you can move about, you can eat, you can do whatever you want, see but you are not attracted to them and they are not making you a slave. Rather, you are the master of these things and they don't affect you at all. You don't need to run away to the attic or the forest to remain segregated from the sense objects. You don't need to run away. You can go about in the sense objects without being subject to them. That's what he's saying. If this is done, what is done? Yukta asita matpara. Be seated quietly, engaged in my thoughts. The mind is full of Sri Krishna, so there is no place for other sense objects to come and occupy the mind and the body. So it becomes possible to move among the objects of sense. You don't need to run away from the physical world. In contact with them, you are even in contact with them, but you are acting on them. They are not acting on you. That's what it means. Acting on them, but with the senses entirely under the control of the subjective self. So what is meant by acting on them? If there is good food, you are eating the food, but you are maybe even enjoying, but you are not subject to them. They are not causing any desire in you. There is no attachment. You're just moving about. Okay, like in those cases, he was even smoking and drinking because before mother came, he was doing that because he was brought up in the West from the age of 7 up to the age of 21. So it was natural for him to do that. And also it's very cold weather there. So a little bit of liquor actually warms up the body. So it is almost necessary in the West. Not too much, but just a little bit. And we have got doctors on the panel here, and they will also, I think, confirm what I'm saying, that a wee bit of alcohol actually energizes you. But if you take too much, you become slave, and that harms you also. But a little bit of alcohol does not harm you. Tell me, Archanadi and Yasmin, what I'm saying is correct. That's what, it does not harm you at all. So anyway, Srimda was not at all attached to these things. And when he was asked, he said, why are you attached to the opposite? Why are you attached rather to non-smoking and non-drinking? Attachment is the problem, not the attachment and desire is the problem, not what you are doing physically. So that's what he said. Then there is highest self, the Purusha. So there is the individual self, okay? That's one. Your individual self, your soul or yourself does not be subjected to the sense objects. There is no desire and there is no attachment. But that self again is plunged in the highest self. So your individual self is also merged with the universal self or God if you want to use another word. Then I read the next sentence. Then, free from reactions, the senses will be delivered from the affections of liking and disliking. The dualities will disappear. Escape the duality of positive and negative desire and calm, peace, clearness. Prasannata is the word used in Sanskrit. Clearness, transparency, clearness, happy tranquility, Atma Prasad will settle upon the man. That calm tranquility is the source of the soul's felicity. Okay? That peace will also give you felicity. Tranquil soul. All grief begins to lose its power of touching the tranquil soul. No sorrow is possible. The intelligence is rapidly established in the peace of the soul. Suffering is destroyed. These experiences of self. It is this calm, desireless, griefless fixity of the buddhi in self-poise. Self-poise. You are stationed within your own consciousness. Okay. It is not that you are poised you are concentrated in the objects of sense. You are concentrated in your own self. And these objects of sense are not, sense objects are not affecting you at all. It is this calm, desireless, griefless fixity of the buddhi in self-poise and self-knowledge to which the Gita gives the name of samadhi. So in normal Jnana Yoga, the samadhi is usually you lose consciousness of the physical world. But in the Gita, it is extended also to the waking samadhi. That's what he's saying. Clear? So now two types of samadhi. Now there are actually more samadhis. There is 3-4 types of samadhis are there. But right now we won't discuss that. There is samprajnata samadhi, asamprajnata samadhi, all sorts of different conditions are there. One condition is whatever you are thinking about, you are identified with that. That's what is being spoken of here. I am thinking of Sri Krishna and I am the object, the Sri Krishna image is in my mind. But there is also the asamprajnata samadhi. There is nothing in my mind, no absolute emptiness. And the mind becomes full of a infinite, featureless peace and calm. That's asamprajnata samadhi. And it is supposed to be the highest. Because even if there is something in the mind with features, it seems to be a limited and less important realization. So here the Gita is talking about the samadhi, which is the samprajnata samadhi. That means the mind is full of Sri Krishna. Now, I'm reading the next paragraph. I'll read the full paragraph and then we'll come back to it. The sign of the man in samadhi is not that he loses consciousness of objects and surroundings and of his mental and physical self and cannot be recalled to it even by burning or torture of the body. The ordinary idea of the matter. Trance is a particular intensity, not the essential sign. We'll discuss this in detail. The test is the expulsion of all desire, their inability to get at the mind, and it is the inner state from which this freedom arises. the delight of the soul gathered within itself with the mind equal and still and high poised, still in the sense of silent, no movement, and high poised above the attractions and repulsions, the alternations of sunlight and storm, and the stress of the external life. It is drawn inward, even when acting outwardly. It is concentrated in self, even when gazing out upon things. It is directed wholly to the divine, even when to the outward vision of others, busy and preoccupied with the affairs of the world. The others may feel that you are in the ordinary consciousness because you are moving about in the normal way. Others don't realize that your consciousness is high up there. It is directed wholly to the divine, and even when the outward vision of others, busy and preoccupied with the affairs of the world. Arjuna, voicing the average human mind, asks for some outward, physical, practically discernible sign of this great samadhi. How does such a man speak? How sit? How walk? No such signs can be given, nor does the teacher attempt to supply them. For the only possible test of its possession is inward. The possession of samadhi is inward, not external. And that there are plenty of hostile psychological forces to apply. Okay. For the only possible test of its possession is inward. And that there are plenty of hostile psychological forces to apply. Equality is the great stamp of the liberated soul. And of that equality, even the most discernible signs are still subjective, never objective. You can't understand, others can't understand in what condition he is. A man with mind untroubled by sorrows, who has done with desire for pleasures. 1 minute. A man with mind untroubled by sorrows, who has done with desire for pleasures, from whom liking and wrath and fear have passed away. Such is a sage whose understanding has become founded in stability. He is without the triple action of the qualities of Prakriti, without the dualities, ever based in the true being, without getting or having, okay, possessed of his self. For what gettings and havings has the free soul? Once we are possessed of the self, we are in possession of all things. Okay, so this is the paragraph that we have to discuss now. So, the samadhi as described in the Gita is being examined in care and giving details are being given. The sign of the man in samadhi is not that he loses consciousness of objects and surroundings and of his mental and physical self and cannot be recalled to it even by burning or torture of the body. This is the normal condition of man as understood in the Jnana Yoga. You are in trance, your eyes are closed, your ears are sealed, you are absolutely not in contact with the physical world. That's a normal understanding of samadhi. Samadhi, the consciousness has gone completely out and there is no connection with the body-mind life. And it is supposed to be that whatever you do to the body, okay, you will not come back very easily. That's the, with a great deal of difficulty, it can come back. But this usually you are high up. And Srimad is even mentioning burning or torture of the body. Okay, we all know that sometimes when children are sleeping heavily, the parents sprinkle some water on their face. By the way, that's absolutely the wrong thing to do. You must be able to slowly, calmly stroke the body and let the consciousness come back into the body in a very calm, quiet, and slow manner. Because if you don't do that, it can harm the person. Okay, there can be a violent comeback, and the violent comeback can be not very pleasant. It can have consequences which are not very good. Because there is a silver cord that connects the body, mind and life to the soul, and the consciousness which has gone out. So it has to come back in a very smooth and calm manner. So never wake up somebody in a very violent manner, shouting or even sprinkling water or shaking them violently. All these things are not to be done. And this is the normal idea of samadhi. But in the Gita, it is quite different. The ordinary idea, trance in Gita is a particular intensity, not the essential sign. Okay, so be very clear what is saying that it's a particular intensity. It's not the essential sign. Okay, it's not that you are completely unconscious of the physical world. So what is it? The test is the expulsion of all desires. Even when you are fully awake, your eyes are awake and you are hearing everything and even responding to everything. If you ask a question to such a person, he will answer you. But he is not identified with the body-mind life. His consciousness is up there. There are no desires. He has been able to reject all desires, expulsion. Okay? Expulsion of all desires. Their inability to get at the mind, and it is the inner state from which this freedom arises. Not the word freedom. Your soul is free. It is not imprisoned in the body-mind life. The delight of the soul gathered within itself with the mind equal. So equal means no movement at all, neither to the left nor to the right. It is completely still. And he is giving three words. Mind is equal, that means not affected by anything, and still, that is silent, no movement. And not only no movement, but it is high poised. It is very high up, not in the body-mind life, outside the body-mind life. Above the attractions and repulsion. Note the word above. In the Gita, they use the word kutastha, seated on the summit. Okay, that's why high poised. Above the attractions and repulsions. The alternations, all these things don't affect you. You are neither attracted to anything, nor are you repulsed by anything. The alternations, sometimes you are very happy, sunshine, and sometimes you are disturbed, storm, and the stress of external life. The words sunshine and storm are used psychologically here. Okay. It is drawn inward. What is it? The mind and the consciousness. It is drawn inward. Even when acting outwardly, you are acting, you are doing everything normally, but you are not involved in them. You are outside. You are thinking of your mind is concentrated on the divine. It is concentrated in self, even when gazing out upon things. Your eyes are open fully, and you are conscious of whatever is happening in the physical world. He is using only the eyes here, gazing out, but also your sounds also. You are open to everything. Sight, sound, taste, touch, everything. Okay? It is directed wholly to the divine, even when to the outward vision of others. Okay? Busy, you seem to be busy and preoccupied with the affairs of the world. But to the outward vision of others, it is not possible to understand this. Arjuna, voicing the average human mind, asks for some outward, physical, practically discernible sign of his great samadhi. How to know that somebody is in samadhi? He's asking. How does such a man speak? How sit? How walk? Okay. No such signs can be given, answers the Krishna. This is chapter 2, verse 54. Verse 54. Sthita prajyasya ka bhasha samadhi sthasya keshava sthitadhi kim prabhasheta kim asita vrajeta kim. How does he move? How does he sit? How does he speak? What are the signs? That's it. Chapter 2, verse 54, 55, 56 in the Gita. Okay, so that's what. And Sri Krishna answers, no such signs can be given, nor does the teacher attempt to supply them. For the only possible test of its possession is inward, subjective, not external, and that there are plenty of hostile psychological forces to apply. Okay. Equality is the great stamp of the liberated soul. So, to a certain extent, if you are very, very observant, you can see that nothing is affecting him. And that can be a sign for you to understand that, for instance, okay, if you are watching a cricket match and your team hits a six, there's great excitement. You stand up and start clapping and jumping with joy. Nothing like that will happen to the man who is Theta Prajna. Okay? Or you see a Rasgulla and you start rushing to eat it. Nothing. You are absolutely calm and quiet, not disturbed at all. Equality is the great stamp of the liberated soul. And of that equality, even the most discernible signs are still subjective. A man with mind untroubled by sorrows, who has done with desire for pleasures. This is an English phrase. Who has done with means he has finished. He has nothing to do now with desires for pleasures. We all know that. No? This is a phrase they use. I am done with it. That means finished. That doesn't bother me anymore. Who has done with desire for pleasures, from whom liking and wrath and fear have passed away. By the way, that word wrath, you can pronounce it as wrath, you can pronounce it as wrath. Okay. Sometimes they pronounce it also as wrath, the Americans. And fear have passed away. There is no fear at all because you are identified with the divine. Such is the sage whose understanding has become founded in stability. He is, now he is quoting, Srimad is quoting, without the triple action of the qualities of Prakriti. Which is the triple action? They, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. They are not affecting him at all. And when you are in the self, these three qualities become equal to each other and there is no movement at all. If the Sattva, Rajas, Tamas are unequal, then what happens is that there is a disturbance in the being and there is movement. Then you cannot be in a static condition. But when you are in a static condition, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas are equal to each other and there is no movement at all. Okay? So that's what he said. Triguna Atita is the word used in the Gita. Triguna Atita. You are beyond the three gunas. Without the triple action of the qualities of Prakriti. Without the dualities, opposites in the physical world. Okay? Ever based in its true being. So neither are the Sattva, Rajas, Tamas bothering you, nor are the dualities bothering you. Good, bad, success, failure, all these things don't bother you at all. Without getting or having, possessed of the self. Okay? Without having or getting. This is verse 45. So in verse 45, he is also talking of the getting and having. Okay? So that is an interesting word. Just 1 second. Getting and having. Yoga Kshemam is the word. Yoga Kshemam, getting and having. So, yeah. Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna. Arjuna become Nistraigunya. Okay. Nirdvando. Nirdvando without the dualities. Nitya Sattvastho, seated always in the Sattva. Yoga Kshemam Atmavan, without being subject to Nir-Yoga Kshema. Yoga Kshema, getting and giving. But when you are in that consciousness, there is no getting, no giving because you are absolutely stable and calm. Verse 45, 46, 47. Okay, so he is without the triple action of the qualities of Prakriti, without the dualities, Nirdvandva, ever based in his true being, without getting or having possessed of his self, Atmavan. For what gettings and havings has the free soul? Once we are possessed of the self, we are in possession of all things, because the divine is the essence of all things. And the most satisfying thing is the divine. So you don't need any other minor satisfaction. That's what is being said. 8:20. We've got 15 minutes, slightly more. So we can read the next one. One of you has to read. Who will read? And yet he does not cease from work and action. Either Pallavi or Tarika.
Shall I read?
Yes, yes, do
Shall
that.
I read?
Yeah. Pallavi is reading. Or Tarika.
And yet he doesn't.
Yeah, go on.
Tarika, you read. Tari, read.
Okay.
And yet he does not cease.
Yeah, that's it. Go on. Your voice is not coming through. Yeah. Your internet is.
Hello, hello.
Yes.
Sarika, your voice is not coming at all. It's cutting. Pallavi, you may read it because there's some internet
Your
connection
internet
problem
is
with
wavering.
Sarika. Pallavi, you read it. Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. And yet he does not cease from work and action. There is the originality and power of the Gita that, having affirmed this static condition, this superiority to nature, this emptiness even of all that constitutes ordinarily the action of nature for the liberated soul, it is still able to vindicate for it, to enjoin on it even the continuance of works, and thus avoid the great defect of the merely pietistic and ascetic philosophies, the defect from which we find them today attempting to escape. Thou hast a right to action, but only to action, never to its fruits. Let not the fruits of thy works be thy motive, neither let there be in thee any attachment to inactivity. Therefore, it is not the works practiced with desire by the Vedavadins. It is not the claim for the satisfaction of the restless and energetic mind by a constant activity, the claim made by the practical or the kinetic man, which is here enjoined. Fixed in yoga, do thy actions, having abundant attachment, having become equal in failure and success, for it is equality that is meant by yoga. Action is distressed by the choice between a relative good and evil, the fear of sin and the difficult endeavor towards virtue. But the liberated who has united his reason and will with the divine casts away from him, even here in this world of dualities, both good doing and evil doing. For he rises to a higher law beyond good and evil, founded in the liberty of self knowledge. Such desireless action can have no decisiveness, no effectiveness, no efficient motive, no large or vigorous creative power. Not so. Action done in yoga is not only the highest, but the wisest, the most potent and efficient, even for the affairs of the world. For it is informed by the knowledge and will of the master of works. Yoga is skill in works. But all action directed towards life leads away from the universal aim of the yogin, which is by common consent to escape from bondage to this distress and sorrowful human birth. Not so, either. The sages who do works without desire for fruits and in yoga with the divine are liberated from the bondage of birth and reach that other perfect status in which there are none of the maladies which afflict the mind and the life of a suffering humanity.
Yeah. Okay. So very clearly, what he's saying is he's describing the Sthita Prajna. And yet, he does not cease from work and action. Usually, the Mayavadin or the Buddhist or the Jnana Yogi, they have nothing to do with the physical world. They say, why should I have anything to do with the physical world? But the Gita is saying, no, you can have a fine, beautiful consciousness, stable and calm and quiet and desireless, but you can continue to work in the physical world. And that is exactly what also the Isha Upanishad says. Okay. Na karma lipyate nara. Action does not cleave to a man. He can be free. So that is the reason why it so agrees with Sri Aurobindo that he has written a whole book on the Isha Upanishad. All the other Upanishads are clubbed into one volume, but the Isha Upanishad, which is one of the smallest, there are only 18 verses, but it completely agrees with Sri Aurobindo's philosophy, and that's why he has commented heavily. In fact, it is said that the Isha Upanishad was the starting point. When he commented on that, that was he made notes for the Life Divine from the Isha Upanishad. Those things are also there recorded in his books. Okay, so and yet he does not cease from work and action, even when he is in samadhi. There is the originality and power of the Gita. So you have to stress the word there. There in this theory that he can work even when he is in samadhi, there is the originality and power of the Gita. That having affirmed this static condition, this superiority to nature, superiority to nature, you are not identified with body-mind life. You are superior to your body-mind life. You have gone outside. That's what it means. This emptiness, even of all that constitutes ordinarily the action of nature. So what is the action of nature? Physical action, vital emotions, and mental thoughts. These are the ordinary action of nature. For the liberated soul, so this is empty. This consciousness is empty of all these things which are still going on in the body-mind life, but you are now separated from them. Your consciousness has come out and you are watching the mind having thoughts, the vital having emotions, and the body also moving and doing everything. But you are not doing now. It is nature which is making it do. Okay? So that's what he's saying. Emptiness, even of all that constitutes ordinarily the action of nature, for the liberated soul. The soul is free, liberated, not imprisoned in the body-mind life. It is still able to vindicate for it, to enjoin on it, even the continuance of works, and thus avoid the great defect of the merely quietistic and ascetic philosophies. So the word vindicate means to confirm, to ascertain, and to assert. Okay, the Gita is able to assert that no, you don't need to give up action. You can continue to act in the physical world even when you are in samadhi. And to enjoin, say, okay, on it, advise, encourage, and even give advice. Enjoin on it, give a command. Even the continuance of works, you don't need to stop working, and thus avoid the great defect of the merely quietistic and ascetic philosophies. Mayavada, Buddhism, and Jnana Yoga also. They avoid physical work. Physical, mental, vital work, they avoid. The defect from which we find them today attempting to escape. This is there all over now. Very rarely, even in India now, are people saying that get away from the physical world and go to the forest. One of the reasons is probably the forests are disappearing. Okay. So, thou hast a right to action, but only to action, never to its fruits. This is the famous Karmanyevadhikarasya ma phaleshu kadachana. chapter 2, verse 47. Okay. Let not the fruits of thy works be thy motive, neither let there be in thee any attachment to inactivity. Don't be attached to your activities and your movements, but don't be attached even to inactivity. Don't think that activity is going to imprison you. That's what he said. Therefore, it is not the works practiced with desire by the Vedavadins. Okay, that's what he said earlier also, that you can do work in the physical world and do it with the mantras and all that, and as a sacrifice, you can also make a sacrifice, but the intention is to satisfy your physical and worldly desires. But that is not what the Gita is saying. Okay? It is not, therefore, the works practiced with desire by the Vedavadins. It is not the claim for the satisfaction of the restless and energetic mind by constant activity. The claim made by the practical or the kinetic man. Who is the practical and kinetic man? The one who lives only in his vital, which is enjoined here. The Gita is telling you, get detached from your body, mind, life, and continue to work in the physical world, which is here enjoined. Fixed in yoga, do thy actions. Having abandoned attachment, having become equal in failure and success, continue to do your actions. For it is equality that is meant by yoga. The Gita goes as far as to say that equality itself is yoga. Samatvam yoga uchyate. Samatvam is spoken of as yoga. Then there is another thing also which is very famous. This is very important. Samatvam yoga uchyate. Action is distressed by the choice between a relative good and evil, the fear of sin, and the difficult endeavor towards virtue. Okay, so now he's asking a question. If you are to be absolutely without any desire or without any attachment, action will be affected. He's asking a question. If you don't have any desire, how are you going to act? 90% of humanity acts because all action starts with a desire in the mind. So he's asking a question. He's saying, if action is distressed by the choice between a relative good and evil, the fear of sin, and the difficult tender towards virtue, should you not make an effort to even get virtue? That's what he's asking. But the liberated, now the answer. But the liberated who has united his reason and will with the divine, casts away from him, even here in the world of dualities, both good doing, good doing and evil doing. He is not attached to either, neither virtue nor sin, for he rises to a higher law beyond good and evil, beyond the good and evil, founded in the liberty of self-knowledge. Such desireless action can have no decisive. Now, another question. If you do things without desire, will you be able to do them really well? That's a question. If you are told, don't be attached to any work, don't take disinterestedly do work, will your work not be of an inferior quality? He's asking. Because I'm not interested in the result. So do the work somehow or other. That's a normal understanding of man. But he's answering now. He's saying, such desireless action can have no decisiveness, no effectiveness, no efficient motive, no large or vigorous creative power. It's a question that he's asking. And then he's answering himself. Not so, not like that at all. Action done in yoga is not only the highest, but the wisest, the most potent and efficient, even for the affairs of the world. For it is informed by the knowledge, informed, by the way, informed means it goes into the form. We often use the word inform in this sense. Going into the form by the knowledge and the will, the master of works. Now here is another oft quoted phrase from the Gita. The first is Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. And the second one, Yoga Karmasu Kaushalam. Yoga is skill in works, not the opposite. That's what it's saying. But all action directed towards life leads away from the universal aim of the yogin, which is by common consent to escape from bondage to this distressed and sorrowful human birth. Now, the third question he is asking. But all action directed towards life leads away from the universal aim of the yogin, which is by common consent to escape from bondage to this distressed and sorrowful human birth. What he's saying is that if you don't go away from the world, will not attachment and desire automatically come into you? That's what he's asking. Then again he answers. So this is the third question. Not so either. The sages who do works without desire for fruits and in yoga with the divine are liberated from the bondage of birth and reach that other perfect status in which there are none of the maladies which afflict the mind and life of a suffering humanity. These, if you, three questions. If you are absolutely equal, will the action be good? So simply saying, action will be absolutely perfect. Then, will it not create desire? And if you are not running away from the world, will it not create desire and attachment? Again, the answer is no, it is not necessary. So this is what he's saying. So we have got now the last two paragraphs of this chapter, which we will finish next time. Okay. So the yoga of the intelligent will. That means Jnana Yoga. Okay, so we'll take it up next time. So three things. Yoga, karmasu kaushalam. When you are in yoga, your work is perfect. It is skill in works. And the next one, samatvam yoga uchyate. And the other one, you have a right to action, but never the fruits thereof. Okay. So these are the three master words of the Gita in this chapter. Okay, we stop here today. Okay.
Merci, Rangada.
Thank you.
Merci. Bonne journée.